That's fine. The shoulder bag, please, miss.
Oh, do hurry up, please. It's my flight time.
Well, are you sure the flight wasn't cancelled? No, you did. And you didn't miss her at the airport? Well, are you sure? Oh, look, love, I'd better ring her at home. Well, when? Well, last night, what time? Listen, Liz, let me check on the other flight times from this end, yeah? And I'll ring you back. Yeah. Bye-bye, love.
Pauline.
Oh, hello, Sue.
Can I help?
All right, some sort of mix-up over flight times. My ex-wife should have arrived in Heidelberg yesterday to visit our daughter.
Well, perhaps the flight's got delayed.
Well, Liz says not. Look, could you get me another line to airport inquiries?
Sure. It doesn't help, you know. The calls all go into a queue nowadays.
Yeah, I know, but I want to try Pauline's flat. Well, it doesn't sound as though she's home anyway.
Perhaps the flight's got rerouted.
Well, I got the number here. Lufthansa 0332 Frankfurt.
Any time?
Yeah, I should have left at 10:05 yesterday morning. Hey, Tom Mace.
There, Nick?
Yeah, take a seat. I'll be with you in a minute.
It's important, Nick.
Yeah, but it always is with serious crime squad, isn't it? So what have we got downstairs that's of interest to a big wheel like you?
I've got the airport for you, Mr. Lewis. Hold the line, please. I've got a call for you.
We'll give you a tick.
You're inquiring about yesterday's flights to Frankfurt. That's what I'm here for, Nick. You can put the phone down, Miss Maxwell.
What's happened to her, Tom?
You got anywhere we can speak privately?
I said, what's happened to Pauline?
We've got Mrs. Barrs in custody. Sorry, Nick.
You've got Pauline inside. The serious crime squad? You're going to be joking. Pauline?
She was arrested at 9:55 yesterday morning, trying to board a Lufthansa flight to Germany.
She was going to see our daughter, for God's sake.
A security inspection of her bag showed that she was carrying a fully loaded .22, a Vostok target pistol.
Pauline with a gun? Well, she used to shoot. You know that. I used to bring her to the police.
Not just any .22, Nick. We passed it on to ballistics as a matter of form. They came up with a match this morning.
Well, go on, Tom.
It was the gun that was used in the Wesminster Bank job a month ago. The girl was killed.
You're saying that Pauline was carrying a murder weapon out of the country?
Could be worse.
Well, you're out of your mind!
For God's sake, don't make it any harder for me. You think I wanted to come here and tell you that your missus is in a police cell?
Ex-missus.
You haven't drunk your tea, Mrs. Barrs.
I don't want it. Did you get in touch with my husband?
It's all being attended to.
If he's not at the number I gave you in Rome, he may be out on a story somewhere. They'll know at the paper.
We don't want the press involved, Mrs. Barrs. I think you can understand that.
But I do. This is all some sort of ridiculous mistake. I do want the press involved. And I want to speak to my husband.
I don't think you realise the position you're in.
I know that somebody put a gun in my bag, some lunatic or terrorist. And if you had any sense, you'd be out after them.
You've said that before, Mrs. Barrs.
Well, what other explanation is there?
Pete.
Oh, Nick.
Hello, Pauline.
Oh, Nick, thank God you're here. Will you please get me out of this
All
place?
right, love, calm down. We're doing all we can.
Don't give me any of your patronising police chat. I've been kept in here since yesterday morning. Do you know that?
I know.
And Liz, she's waiting for me in Germany.
Look, I've spoken to her, so don't worry about Liz.
Well, of course I'm worried about Liz. She doesn't know what's happened.
It's all right. I've spoken to her. Now, let's talk about you.
I have had 24 hours of policemen asking me stupid questions, and I'm not going to take any more from you.
You know why you're here.
Yes, of course I know why I'm here. Some maniac was using my bag to smuggle a gun onto the plane. Some maniac, not me. And I've asked to see my solicitor, and they've done absolutely nothing about it.
Well, just answer me one question.
What question?
That gun, have you ever seen it before?
No, no, no.
You always were the worst liar in the world.
I am not lying!
I know you're not. That's what I meant. No, don't worry. I'll get you out of here very soon. Look, Tom, you're either losing your grip or you're not telling me all you know.
What she told you?
Well, nothing she hasn't told you, but I was married to her for 16 years. I know when she's giving me a line. I know when she's kosher.
Yeah?
Yes.
You've worked on enough cases involving married couples. Who's the last person you'd go to for an assessment of the wife?
Okay, but I had to learn the hard way. I'm telling you she's right. That shooter was planted in her bag.
Who by?
Well, isn't that your job to find out, or do you want me to do it?
If I believed her story, which I don't. Have you any idea how many people are in Terminal 2 at that time of day?
A couple of thousand.
And the rest? Half of them visitors who haven't even been through the checkout?
No, it wouldn't be a visitor.
No?
Now, there had to be a reason for someone wanting to get a shooter onto that flight.
Well, we've heard Mrs. Bauer's theory. Terrorists, right?
And the only reason that makes sense is that once the plane was airborne, they'd have the shooter available. So it had to be one of the people booked onto that flight.
Well, thanks for excluding the security staff.
Don't push me, Tom.
So the only reason to put a gun in that bag was to get it aboard that plane, right?
So why don't you start looking for geezers with dark glasses and Arab haircuts
Oh,
instead of sitting
Nick!
on your fat...
I saw everybody who booked onto that plane.
So you've checked them out?
No, Nick.
Well, don't you think it's about time you did?
Why don't you sit down?
Look, I don't sit down till this thing's sorted out.
It's a funny thing, you know. You've been married to a woman all your life and never really realized what she's up to.
I said, don't push me, Tom.
I'm not pushing you. It's the facts. The evidence.
I'm telling you, it was a plant.
I told you the form on the gun.
Right. And if you check through that flight list, you're going to have a name for that bank killing.
It was in a plastic bag. We printed your wife, Mrs. Bowers, this morning. Because forensic came up with a good set off the shooter. It's a perfect match.
You mean her prints are on the gun? Inside the bag?
That's not all. We went through her flat.
Well, go on.
We found plans of the area around the bank with a meter mark where they had the getaway heat parked. The patrol times of the wardens. And a plan of the bank itself.
In her flat?
Under a piece of hardboard. In the bottom drawer of her dressing table. Satisfied?
Take this one, for example. He took off a young yobbo at a soccer match, believe it or not. Wasn't loaded, so he only got suspended for having it stuffed up his jumper. But if you go back to 1932, this was used to shoot a postman in Kenya.
How do you know?
They've all got serial numbers. I checked it when they come in last year. Now, how did a gun that was used to bump off some poor bloke in Africa turn up on our doorsteps nearly 50 years later and nobody's heard of it in the meantime?
I've no idea. It's very fascinating.
There always are these things. I'm telling you, got little lives of their own.
Even to the extent of hopping into people's bags when they're not looking.
Nick, you were married to her. You're not now, thank God. So leave it alone. So if the press get a sniff that her ex-husband's in the force, your life won't be worth living.
You remember Chrissy Blake?
Chrissy? Oh, for God's sake.
Yeah, it looked
Nick.
straight down the line for Chrissy, didn't it? Until we found out that her mates had fitted her up like a glove.
Who'd want to fit Pauline up?
I don't know, Tom, but I'll find out.
She means nothing to you now. You're putting your head on a block for a woman who could kill a 19-year-old in cold blood. Give over, Nick.
Now listen, Tom, we worked together a lot in the past. And I've never known you satisfied with second best when the best was available. And I'm not saying that in your shoes I'd be doing any different. And I'm not carrying any torch for Pauline. Never was much of a marriage anyway. The last couple of years of it were hell, so that's all over. But if I believed that a woman that I'd lived with for that length of time was so clever that she could take me in, I'd sling in my warrant card. Because that bigger mug doesn't deserve to be in this job.
I told you, women...
Yeah, all right. They can be devious and disloyal and unprincipled, egocentric. Listen, pal, I invented male chauvinism. And that one in there has got all those delightful female qualities. But, Tom, she couldn't plan a hole in the ground, let alone a job like that one.
We're not saying she didn't have any help.
Well, of course you know. There were 3 people involved in the bank job, weren't there? 2 men and a woman. Any ideas?
We will have. She'll give us the strength if she's got any sense.
I'll tell you something, Tom, that's one quality she's very short on.
And now I suppose you're going to get her brief over here.
Look, I lost my copy of Judge's Rules the day I came out of uniform. You want a solicitor? You get him. I'm going to find out who fitted her up. Everybody on the flight list, however old or young, jobs, income bracket, reason for travel. And anybody with a criminal record, you let me know straight away.
Of course.
Hello, Phil.
Hi.
Sue told you?
Yeah. Hope it's going to be all right.
It won't be for the people who fitted Pauline up.
Is that what you think?
I know so.
Someone must dislike her a hell of a lot.
Not her, Phil. Me. I'm not saying there aren't people who dislike her. Probably plenty. But there's a lot more who've got it in for me. And the sort of people who know just how to do a high-class stitching-up job.
But Nick, you're divorced. I mean, it's
Look,
not
a
gonna...
copper with an ex-wife doing time for murder is not going to stay in the force.
And there was me going to have a nice quiet game of snooker tonight.
I think you've had that.
I think you're right. If we're going to get Nick off the hook, it's not going to be any 8-hour day job. Still, I'm a Yorkshireman. Always help your mates when they're in trouble. Otherwise, they might not be there when you come to want to borrow a fiver. I think I'll check Nick's arrest record for starters. Come on, woman. Get working.
The take from the bank was over 30,000 quid, right? It's not enough flat, so they must have slaughtered the money. Check her bank account. Get the lads around the banks with a photo. She might have opened a new account in a false name. And building society deposits.
Got it. Identity parade.
Just before I charge her.
You going to do that today?
Suppose so. I'm not worried. Who's a brief, anyway?
Firm called Steining and Mole.
Yeah, well, I'll get on to them. Get the lads out with those photos as quick as you can, Pete.
Sure. Hell of a thing for Nick Lewis, eh?
Yeah. The poor mug's convinced she's clean.
Well, like they say, husband's always the last to know.
Pete?
Yeah?
We have got it right, haven't we?
Oh, leave it out, Tom.
Yeah, okay. It's just I've known Nick Lewis for a good few years.
Oh, he's arrested an awful lot of people in his time.
We don't need to go right back to when he was a handsome young copper. Let's start with the last couple of years.
There's still a lot.
And we've no need to check this bloke out. He's still doing time.
He's got friends who aren't, maybe.
You got a point. Let's split the list. Whoever it is,
Yes?
either going to be some sort of nutter going to all this trouble to fix Nick up,
Or?
or Nick did something damn bad to him.
Nick, are you sure that's wise?
What?
The gun?
Oh, don't worry. I'm not going to shoot anybody. Yet.
Is that the one out of my security cage?
Yes. I'm trying to work out how you can get your prints on a shooter by accident. And there's no way.
Maybe not by accident, Nick.
Phil, she didn't use that gun.
I'm not saying she did. Give it to you. The shooter. Let me show you something. Sue, have you got a mirror?
What?
A mirror.
Yes.
Now, the shooter that the squad's holding's got her prints all over it, right?
Yes, so she held it at some time. You just tell me how they managed to fix that.
Wouldn't need to, really.
Well, what did they do? Paint them on?
Have you got some sellotape? Lift it up by the barrel, Nick. Give it here. Now, don't go shooting anybody with that, Nick. It's got my prints all over it.
Well, sure.
Good as the real thing. I'm not saying that's how it was done, but that's how it could have been.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Where are you off to?
Well, that computer's not the only source of information, son. I think I know a better one.
He's here?
He's waiting inside.
On his Todd?
No company so far?
And we don't want any. You hang about. Nick Lewis. Must be what? 4 years? Yeah. All of that. Well, how come you're not dead yet?
Well, thanks for seeing me, Bonnie.
After all, your old lady looked after us kids during the war. Give over, Nick. Anyhow. No point in defending the filth.
I got some trouble, Bonnie.
Well, let's hear it.
Somebody's doing a fit-up on my ex-missus.
Your ex-missus? Well, how's that trouble for you?
Well, you know what it's like in the job. Caesar's wife, isn't it?
So, why come to me?
Because nothing goes on this side of the river that you don't hear about.
Jobs, maybe. Fit-ups? They tend to be private deals.
It's tied in with the job.
Well, be careful what you say this time, Nick. What was the job?
I wouldn't be here if I thought you'd set it up. A bank job at Barking, where the girl was killed.
Oh, that.
Yes, that.
The days I set up armed robberies are long gone, Nick. You come to the wrong shop. They don't even tell me when they're going to pull that sort of stroke anymore.
But if you wanted to find out, maybe you could.
Maybe. But you're talking about a mob of creeps that blow away a 19-year-old kid to get their hands on a week's holiday pay. Different league, Nick. Where I come from, we only hurt our own. Where's this fit-up coming with your old woman? Pauline, wasn't it?
She's Pauline Bowers now. They've rigged her for the shooting.
After you, I suppose.
Gotta be.
Why?
I thought you might know that as well.
I don't fill my head with useless bits of information if I want to know something. I ask.
I'm asking you, Barney.
Nick, you know this score as well as I do. Nobody goes around pinning anybody up without a reason. Come on, let's have it. The bottom line. Who are you into and how much for?
Oh, is that what you think?
Doesn't matter what I think. I'm asking you a straight question, boy.
I'll give you a straight answer. I'm not into anything.
Give over, Nick. wasn't born yesterday.
Well, suit yourself.
Nick! You always were highly strung. But, Nick, I had to ask. If I do find out who pulled the job, maybe I tell you, maybe I won't. There could be people I know. Be in touch, Nick.
A man called Smedley. Tony Smedley?
What about him?
Well, Nick arrested him in '72. He got 8 years for armed robbery. He threatened Nick in court when he was sentenced.
How?
I'll kill you, you deleted.
And he's out now?
He got out last June.
Definitely list him.
You got any more?
I've got a beauty here. Kid of 22. Went balmy in the dock, had to be sedated.
Heavy sentence?
No, 2 years. But the psychiatrist report said he spent all his time inside saying what he was going to do to Nick Lewis when he got out. Not nice things either. Kid was definitely a nutter.
Was?
That's the trouble. Got killed inside by one of the other cons. Stephen Brady died April the 4th last year.
Oh, Nick, I've got the breakdown of the flight list that you asked for. One possible. And those are just the highlights of his criminal career. I've not listed the minor offences.
No, never heard of the fella. Last conviction, 1968.
Yes, I know. He got married that year.
Yeah, got himself reformed as well. No, sir, he doesn't smell strong enough.
Nick, we've been checking out your arrest record.
Well, if you find any good prospects.
Might be someone there.
Hey, you've done some work.
Anyone fit the bill?
Well, possibly, except...
What?
Well, all these jokers who shout blue murder and what they're going to do to you when they get out, they never do, you know.
Never?
Well, they're always too busy fixing up the next job.
No exceptions?
Well, there was one who could have been, but he's not on this list. Lewis? Oh, yes, hello. Have you seen her? Oh, what time? Yes, I can make that. Bye-bye. I'm sorry, I've got to go. Now, keep on digging at that flight list.
So who did we miss off the arrest record?
Flight list, he said.
The flat's in a bit of a mess. I only got back from Rome this afternoon. After I went straight round to see Pauline.
What did she say?
She's practically out on her feet. Hasn't had any sleep since yesterday.
Has she been charged yet?
Well, is that important? Holding her. Now, the reason I phoned you, Pauline thinks it'd be better if you get in touch with Liz to tell her about all this. You being her father.
Oh, Pauline wants me to tell Liz that she's in the nick. No chance.
Well, surely the kid's got a right to know.
I'll decide what Liz has to know.
Pauline said you've been in playing your masterful policeman part.
That's right. You get mannerisms in every job. Journalists aren't exceptions.
We haven't met for 2 years. You don't appear to have changed.
Well, I'm just a bit wiser. A lot happier.
I know Pauline's not your wife any longer, but I would have thought it was in your interest to have her released.
Yeah? And how do I go about that? Give Tom Mace a backhander or suborn the squad commander?
I don't know police work. It's quite obvious someone planted that gun in her flight bag.
Well, why is it obvious?
Well, she'd no reason to be trying to smuggle a gun out of the country. It's ridiculous.
Yes, I think it's ridiculous, too. Has she seen her solicitor?
No, I don't think so. He was there, but he was in the office with the inspector.
Oh, they're probably insisting that they either release her or file charges. I don't suppose you've been chatting to any of your Fleet Street mates, have you?
We don't want the press in on this.
Oh, what about the public's right to know? Or does that only apply to other people?
I think you might as well leave. Just thought with your ex-wife in this position, you might have liked to help her.
Are you helping her?
I'm going to see her again tomorrow morning with the solicitor. Quite possible she'll be released then.
Says who?
It wouldn't be the first time an innocent person been held at a police station. If they do charge her, I'm sure she'll get bail.
Well, did a solicitor tell you that?
I only saw him very briefly. He seemed hopeful.
I got some bad news for you. If they do charge Pauline, it won't be with carrying a weapon. It'll be murder.
What?
The ballistics report on the weapon found in the bag shows it to be a revolver used in the killing of a bank clerk on March the 3rd. I'm sorry, but that's what Pauline's up for.
But they don't think... Oh, no. This is ridiculous.
Yes, isn't it? Well, she won't walk out of that, Nick, until we prove it's ridiculous.
Oh, for God's sake.
So if you can control your sense of outrage for a minute, perhaps we can do something to help her.
I know, but... Murder.
Right. And they don't hand out bail on that one. What time is this meeting fixed for tomorrow?
9:30.
Well, I want you to do something for me. Oh, for Pauline. Now, take a pen and some paper with you and get her to tell you exactly what she did and who she met from the time she left here until she reached that security check.
Surely the police would have gone through
She
all
didn't
that.
leave here with that shooter in her bag, did she?
Of course
So
not.
someone put it in. What you've got to do is find out how that happened.
Yeah, well, Pauline's quite sure it was some terrorist trying to smuggle it aboard.
Inspector Mace doesn't buy that one, and neither do I.
But there can't be any other explanation.
Mr. Bowers, you've got a good reputation in your profession. You know your job.
I should hope I do, yes.
Yes, and I know mine. Now, somebody got close enough to Pauline to get that shooter into her bag. Now, you find out from her every time she opened that bag and who was near when she did, and I'll get your wife off a murder charge.
You seriously say she hasn't told you all this?
Look, I saw Pauline in that interview room about 20 minutes after Mace told me about the job. Now, maybe I wasn't thinking too straight. I am now.
So I do your job for you. Is that what you're saying?
It's not my case. I'm saying that if you don't come up with something, Pauline is going to get 15 years. And no messing.
You sleep well?
I had a nap. Anything new?
No. Oh, Brief's had a word with her.
Oh, she's been charged then.
No, not yet.
Oh dear. That means you'll be around with a writ in the morning.
I don't think so.
Why not?
Well, the minute she's charged, the press get hold of it. Who wants that? Your husband. He's in the business.
You know, we're never going to get it out of her, Tom. She's going to stick to this crazy story till they pass sentence.
Yeah. Pete, what do you make of her?
One of the best.
Best?
Actresses. Oh, she's brilliant. Had me half believing her.
Yeah, me too. Still, look at the overwhelming evidence.
Well, why not go ahead and charge her?
You know, what beats me is how somebody who's bright enough to con you and me and the man she's been married to for years be so damn stupid as to take a hot shooter out the country.
You're asking me to tell you what makes women tick. Thought you were married.
Yeah, I suppose so. Chief was in earlier.
Yeah?
Oh, Nick Lewis was on his team at District.
So he's bought the story that it's a fit-up.
No. He just wants us to be doubly sure before we charge her.
He knows about the fingerprints.
Well, he's seen the evidence.
And?
He knows the woman, too. Says it just doesn't read right to him.
Oh, your decision, Tom.
Yeah. And I'm going to sleep on it.
Shall I let you know if anything breaks?
If you can wake me.
And when did you manage to do the checkups on all these people?
Yesterday.
Well, yesterday. When?
Well, we did stay a bit late, like. But it's good for me overtime, Docky.
What time?
I don't know.
Sue, what time did you get home last night?
I forget. Oh, listen, Nick, we're not doing any good in here, you know. I mean, we can check in these people's backgrounds, but what you really want to know doesn't show in the computer. We need to get out and see them.
No, I do that bit.
We could help.
But not with the sort of people I'm after, you couldn't.
Yes?
Gentlemen waiting down here for Mr. Lewis. Mr. Barney Fraser's driver.
I'm on my way.
Coming down.
I do see his point.
What?
Barney Fraser.
Should I know him?
No, you shouldn't. The less anybody knows about Barney Fraser, the better. People tend to have very nasty accidents when they start making inquiries in that direction.
Well, what's Nick want with him? I mean, I'd feel like a bullet.
Don't use expressions like that, Sue.
Didn't know you had a country branch, Barney.
Oh, well, this day and age, you've got to diversify to make a profit. Oh, smell that air. You can nearly eat it, couldn't you, eh? Go on over here. See, these boys are sort of subcontractors. Well, the kind of work they do, they need a quiet place. Open up, it's me. Scram. You, outside.
Did they have to do that to him?
Now, don't criticize too soon, Nick, till you hear what Chummy's got to say. Now, you're going to cooperate, aren't you, eh? Nick, Dusty Wheeler. Used to have him on the firm once till he set up on his own. Tell Nick what your job is.
Contract.
What sort of contracts?
I take people out.
Tell us what your last contract was.
A girl. Had to go to Germany to get a girl.
What are we going to do to this girl?
Cut her.
And?
Her legs.
What about her legs?
Breaking job.
So, you want to cut her face and break both her legs, right? Dusty, son, you speak up, because we can't hear you.
Yeah.
And what was the job worth?
500.
And?
Bonus of 200 if I pulled it on the Monday.
And this girl, she got a name, has she?
Lewis. Elizabeth Lewis. She's a student. Heidelberg.
He couldn't get on a flight on Saturday. So he went on a bender with a Tom for a few days. Good job for your daughter that he did. We picked him up last night.
Who paid? Who paid for it, Barney?
Phone call. The money came from the post. All of it. 500 quid. I suppose the bonus would have followed or not, as the case may be.
A bonus for doing a contract on a particular day? What's that supposed to mean?
Well, he don't know nor me.
Well, that's 2 days ago. The day they nicked Pauline.
Someone's really got it in for you, chum. Come on.
What about him?
No, he's none of your business. That still don't get us any nearer to find out who stitched your missus up, but I've got people working on that.
Like that?
Do you want to know or don't you?
Yes, I want to know.
Hello. It's all right, though. Darling, it's going to be all right.
You do believe me, don't you?
Of course I do.
I don't know what's happening.
I know. Come on, we got to talk this whole thing through.
But they won't listen to me.
They won't listen to you because they don't want to listen to you. As far as Mace is concerned, he's got a cast-iron case against you.
And Nick believes him.
No, Nick believes you. He's doing all he can, but it's not his case.
What's that supposed to mean?
Well, it means he can't just walk in and out of here at random. That's why he's asked me to come and take you through the whole thing again. All right?
It's all right.
I can't tell you over the phone. I just can't. How are you off for money? Well, get down to the airport now. There's a flight out at 8:20 this evening. Book your ticket and go and have a meal or something. No, don't go anywhere near your flat. Look, will you just trust me, Liz? Thank you. Yes, I'll pick you up at the airport. Yeah, bye-bye.
Liz too?
I had a contract out for it, but it's fallen through. I don't want to give them time to organize another.
You mean they killed Liz?
There's something like that.
Nick, you've got to put a name to him. This is Broadmoor stuff.
Crying out loud, don't you think I'm trying to? Sorry, Phil, you're right. It's worse than you think. It was all supposed to happen at the same time. Pauline getting nicked and Liz getting... Well, it's Broadmoor stuff, all right, but who?
Well, then I went through to the departure area. I was only just in time.
You didn't go to the ladies or anything?
No, I didn't have the time.
All right, let's get back to the check-in area. How long were you there?
Well, there was a crush. People were barging into you from all directions. Well, Germans, mostly. If it hadn't been for the woman behind me, I'd probably have had my flight bag stolen.
Just a moment. What woman behind you?
What a funny woman. Staring eyes.
Mm-hmm.
When I put my suitcase on the scales, I remember now, I dropped my flight bag. The desk clerk was nagging me for my ticket, and while I was finding it, this woman, well, she picked my bag up for me.
Did she speak to you?
No, just a smile when I turned round to take the bag.
You had your back to her.
Well, I was checking in, wasn't I? Ken, it couldn't have been her, could it?
Been looking for you, Stan. Governor wants a word with you.
I haven't had any message.
You've got one now.
Yeah, well, a bit of a job on this morning.
How about
later?
now, Stan? Governor don't like to be kept waiting.
All right. I've got my car across the road.
I've got mine here. Come on.
You have enough trouble getting in here.
I'm sorry about that. Sit down.
Thank you.
Now, did she tell you anything?
Yes, she did. Something very interesting. We kept going over and over and over it, and eventually she remembered. There was one brief moment when she did let go of her flight bag. It was at the check-in desk. Apparently, she dropped her bag while she was handing in a ticket, and this woman picked it up.
A woman? Now, could you describe her?
Well, it was only a short glimpse she got, but she said she had staring eyes.
Well, nothing else?
And she was about 14.
And have you told Mace about this?
No, he wasn't there. Look, I know it was only a brief moment, but it was a chance, wasn't it?
Sue, get Phil up here and check through all the female candidates between 30 and 50. Lewis. Oh, yes, Barney. You mean that? No, don't do anything. Same place? I'm on my way. Sue, don't bother about that. We've struck gold. Now, listen, I'm sorry. You've been very helpful. I'll be in touch.
Yes, but... Why did he tell you to drop that?
Don't worry. Nick knows what he's doing.
But if he's going to see the inspector, I ought to be there.
But the inspector's name isn't Barney.
If I'd known it was something that you were interested in, Mr. Fraser, well, I wouldn't have gone near it. Straight.
I believe you, Stan. I've always had you down as a good boy. You two know each other. That's all right, then. Tell him what you told me.
Oh, look, now, I mean, telling you was one thing, but, well, he's law, isn't he?
Tell him.
You said there was going to be no trouble in it for me,
Neither
didn't you?
there isn't, do as you're told, eh?
Yeah, well, like I told Mr. Fraser here, I got this job offered, you know?
Stan's a hotel creep by trade, but he tries his hand at other things.
You know, it was the easiest tickle I've had for years. A block of flats in Maribor. There was no porter, just a lift. The door lock gave me a bit of a sweat, but, well, I'm good with locks, you know. Took me about 20 minutes to get in and about 2 minutes to salt the gear. Oh, look, it was an easy 100 knicker, that's all.
Flat's called Rosyth Court.
Yeah, that's right, you got it, yeah.
Number 8A?
Yeah, that's right.
And what was the stuff?
Oh, street plans. There was a couple of lists of some sort. There was plans at some joint. Oh, I didn't get a very good look at it because I had to keep me dabs off it. Oh, she was very keen. She was very keen on that.
She?
I don't like grassing, Mr. Fraser.
Is that all he said? Leave it.
When you've struck gold.
Might as well read my paper. Oh, you got today's? This is Monday's, April the 4th. April the 4th?
What about April the 4th?
Something yesterday about the lists.
Don't recall.
A dead bloke. No, a dead kid. Said he was out to get Nick.
Brady. But he died in prison.
Stephen Brady. Died April the 4th last year.
That's a strange coincidence.
Or could it be somebody out to celebrate his anniversary?
Josephine Brady. They used to call her Irish Josie.
Married one of the Clerkenwell mob. He left her and went back to Malta, and she had a kid, didn't she?
Yeah. And the kid changed his name to hers when the old man left. His name was Stephen Brady.
Was?
Killed in stir. And I put him there.
Hello? Is that Josie Brady? Look, it doesn't matter who I am, just listen. Look, there's a whisper that there's a fella looking for you. His name is Nick. Nick something or other. Yeah, well, he's law. Look, it doesn't matter where I heard it. But if you've got anything on your conscience, you want to take it away on your toes now. Yeah, look, he's got your address. And from what I heard, he's on his way to your place now.
Thanks, Barney. Thanks a lot.
Well, she don't sound no easy pinch, but... well, that's your problem.
Are you ready now?
Had to get a good one.
Do you know what this place is?
Yeah, right rat-infested hole. I didn't know anybody lived there, let alone run a club. You know, I should have thought of it yesterday.
Why?
It tends to run in families, formed us. I should have checked out the parents.
Blame yourself later.
Kid was born in Nick when she was doing 6 for attempted murder.
Manslaughter, wasn't it?
Yeah, she got 8 for that. Come on.
Nice lady.
It's somewhere around here. I told you it's no beauty spot.
We're a bit late. He's beaten us to it.
Might have guessed. Right, you stay here.
No way.
Sue.
Nick! The fire escape!
She's trying to kill him.
Thought we might need this. You stand back.
Well, I'll be getting back to the office.
No, have a cup of coffee, for goodness sake. Oh, I suppose you prefer a whiskey?
No, I don't want anything.
Oh. Well, thank you very much for the lift.
Oh, that's all right.
Listen, Nick,
Yes.
now that Elizabeth's back, we could have a meal together. The four of us, yes?
Well, what for?
Well, I know you weren't able to get me out of that awful police station till this morning, but I'm sure you tried your best. I'd like to say thank you.
Yes, sure.
And we could eat early before Ken goes to the paper, about 6:30.
6:30?
Well, now you're in an office job. That won't be too difficult, will it?
No.
Bye-bye then, Nick.